is how the Gemara learned it. So, as we have seen, most poskim recommend waiting 6 hours in between eating meat and dairy. Does that mean you have to wait a full 6 hours? Or are there grounds to be lenient if one waits 5.5 hours or maybe 5 hours and 5 minutes? We saw above that the Rambam used the language approximately 6 hours. It's possible that this supports those who wish to be lenient, as this indicates that the amount of time you need to wait is not precise. Also, the Meiri, who's a Rishon, states that the measurement of 6 hours was always an approximation. Can't be less than the time that you wait between a meal and a meal. V'hu sheish shos o karav lezeh, says the Meiri. It's got to be around 6 hours. Shebeshir zen yisakel atin komo ve'ena kori od Bossor. So Meiri says that when the food is in your stomach, by this time it's been digested, and it's not called Bossor anymore. Says the Mogei Novos to the Meiri. V'anu machmirim ad sheisha sheisos o chomesh kishir shebein suda zui shitasenu. Actually says, or 5 hours. Based on these sources, Rav Elyashiv rules that one may wait a little over 5 hours according to the strict letter of the law. The Sefer HaKashrus notes that some allow waiting more than 5.5 hours. Says the Sefer HaKashrus, Yesha makilim le'echol chalavi achar psari la'achar shechalfa rov hashar shishis. He says, when the majority of the 6th hour is past, you can already eat. So that's 5 hours and 30 minutes. Das Agon Rav Yosef Sholem Elyashiv, Shemikra din dai b'amtonas chamesh shos u'mashu. He quotes Rav Elyashiv that 5 hours and 1 minute is al pi divrei Meiri enough. U'kalosh Rambam. The chol toch chatzi shon nechshav samuch. Anything within 30 minutes is like connected to. If you're invited, to your family that's important to you, they would be embarrassed if you don't sample the dairy food they're offering you. So he says that you're allowed to rely on these more lenient shiurim, not to wait the full 6 hours. Rav Ovadia also holds that one may wait the majority of the 6 hours, but only b'shas hatcha, in a pressing situation, and only if you ate chicken. He doesn't allow doing it before 6 hours if you eat meat. Nishalti b'may dekay melon, sh'oichel Bossor tzarech lishos sheisos k'dei sheyuchal lechol gvina v'cholam. For example, for little children, can we wait? And they don't have to wait the full 6 hours. If I wasn't afraid, he says, even if you waited 5.5 hours, even for adults, it would be fine. וכן הוא בספר אורחס חיים חלק בייס. בכל בו. ובזמנים הראשונים לא היה מורשת מוצא. People didn't have watches that they wore on their arm. ובוודאי שהיו מקילים באומדנה. They would estimate. And therefore they didn't necessarily wait a full 6 hours. וידעו את הכל תוך חצי שעה חושב סמוך. Anything within 30 minutes is considered next to. כמו שכוסף רשב"א. Anything beyond 30 minutes is too far away. So Rav Yosef says if you want to be lenient, you can do it 5 hours and 30 minutes. In our case, that you got to treat the Shirei Chachamim exactly. The Gemara never said 6 hours. The Gemara said the amount of time to wait between Suda and Suda. So the Kolpone for Bossor Ot Yesh Latra B'zeh. He says you can be lenient by chicken, and not just Stamazoy, if there's a need. Yeshmokim Latlis B'zeh Kedivra Meiri. The Heinem asks Ganos V'Reidim B'Ganamela Kosab. The Be'inim Sheish shows B'diyu. He notes the Ginas V'Reidim that you got to wait full 6 hours. Like when they say our boy saw the mikveh tahara, that you need 40 saw in a kosher mikveh. Can't have less. Ach ein divrei muchrachim. The Ginat Vreidim and the Ganamelchi says are not convincing. But here we say from Aganovus Kosov, Chamesh Shos or Sheish Shos. Umiyah Lamaisa Yeshlach Mirzek, Moshe Kosov Rabbeinu Yerucham. Od Kav Chav de Meina Sheyishal Kol HaPochel Sheish Shos Ad Sham, Ayin Sham. Umiyah Mekel Bezeh B'Shas Adchak Yesh Lo Mashis. He says, if someone for some reason needs a leniency, he has somebody to rely on, which is the Meiri, the Rambam, and the other sources he quoted. The Yalkut Yosef rules similarly with regard to yeshivos, where waiting a full 6 hours will interfere with the learning schedule. In the summer months, in order to accommodate the schedule, they had to arrange the evening meal, which was milachdik, 5.5 hours after the meat meal. In the army, the after la'akel afachar chamesh shosu mechza. The zebichlal mokum tzorach yesh la'akel. Uvevosser off yesh la'akel b'zeh yoser b'pshitus kishut tzorach l'davar. And certainly when the case is chicken, that you have more reason to be lenient. And Rav, in the footnotes it says Rav Nevin Sal in Yeshivat HaKotel was similar to allow a number of yeshivot to do the less than 6 hours. Says the Shilas and Shuvas of the Rav Arashi, Ki Yadua, Din Zeh Shel HaMachaneh, Shel HaMatana Sheishos Nifsek L'Halocha B'Shulchan Aruch. They note that the Shulchan Aruch said you have to wait 6 hours. I don't know Agim Ki Divrei Achidah, Sheyesh Lamtin Sheishos Mamas V'Los Maniyos. He says they wait 6 hours and not necessarily halachic time. So, for example, in the summer, an hour is like an hour and 12 minutes. So you don't need that. 60 minutes is fine. Lo machmim b'kayitz lo makilim b'chorev. It's always a 60-minute hour. V'yadu ma shekos v'achroinim chalil l'shanois uvezen nemar poretz geder. We shouldn't change minhag Yisrael. L'fichach ein shum mokem l'hakel afilu l'balei batim v'kol shekei l'bnei toivim. Even balabatim should keep 6 hours. Certainly, he says in yeshivas, where we're trying to produce the leaders of the next generation, we should have them wait 6 hours. Don't look for leniencies. So he feels not to be lenient for the Bnei Yeshiva. That's Rav Mordechai Eliyahu, who was the chief rabbi. Rav Binyamin Forst also says not to wait less than 6 hours. He says the vast majority of Jews wait 6 hours. Poskim interpret this to mean 6 full hours. There are some who wait only 5.5, or somewhat more than 5 complete hours. Some authorities of the past generation have alleged that 5.5 hours suffice. He's referring to Rav Aaron Kotler and the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. While many follow this interpretation, it's difficult to find a basis for this in halachic literature. He brings the Abiyah Omer. And this argument is difficult to accept. While the case can be made that one who approximates that 6 hours have elapsed may eat dairy, this cannot be compared to one who knows that only 5.5 hours have passed. Others are quoted as having based their opinion on the language of the Rambam. He says, our custom of waiting 6 hours is not based on the Rambam. Since we Ashkenazim follow the Ashkenazic tradition that halachically 1 hour suffices. We wait 6 hours as a matter of custom, accepted by previous generations. Thus, the question should be a matter of clarifying the custom. Thus, since there's no basis in Shulchan Aruch and its commentaries for eating dairy in less than 6 hours, we must assume that the accepted custom was to wait a full 6 hours, and any wording, nuance in the wording of the Rambam should be irrelevant. So you can see there's a debate back and forth between this issue. Okay. Does the time one waits between meat and dairy begin from the time when one actually finished eating meat, or from the time that one finished the actual meal? Maybe you have to count from when, let's say you put a piece of meat in your mouth at 1 o'clock, but you didn't bench until 1:30. When do you do the 6 hour delay? The Aruch HaShulchan suggests a chidush that the time begins not from the consumption of meat, but from the end of the meal. Says the Aruch HaShulchan, V'da, Shamtana Sheishos, Humisof Asuda Shel Bossor Atchilas Asuda Shel Cholov. He says, you have to calculate the 6 hours from the end of the meal, of the meat meal, to the beginning of the milk meal. The Av, the Eis Chalas Asuda. Well, Yochel Cholov, maybe in the beginning of the next meal, you're not going to eat milk or dairy. Or maybe in the meat meal you stopped eating it half hour before. The Aruch HaShulchan says, since the Gemara talked about waiting between a Suda and a Suda, we should measure between the two meals. However, nearly all poskim disagree with that, including the Dogel Mervav and the Yalkut Yosef. He says you can measure the 6 hours exactly from what time you finished the meat and when you eat the cheese. Says the Yalkut Yosef, says it has nothing to do with the benching. And the Sefer HaKashrus also rules, you can begin your milk meal even within 6 hours of the last meal, as long as you wait 6 hours from the last time you ate your meat before you eat the cheese. Okay, so I think we've analyzed the 6 hour custom very well. What about the custom of waiting 3 hours? Although most of the sources we have seen require or recommend waiting 6 between meat and dairy, there are many families, particularly in the UK and South Africa, as well as those who come from Germany, that have the custom to wait only 3 hours. Is there any, which is my family's custom that I received from my mother, because in Frankfurt they waited 3 hours. Is there any source for such a custom? By the way, Bernie, did Temi in South Africa, did they have a custom of 3 hours? Why do they mention South Africa here? Don't hear Bernie. Walter?
Yeah, there was 3 hour custom, sure. We used to wait. We were from Holland. We waited 1 hour. No, there was a custom for basic 3 hours.
So in South Africa,
was a custom
many of that
came from the Yankee custom that came from England. There were a lot of English people who came, and seems that it came in because the shuls, I think, were based on the English way of doing things. So I think there were a lot of English rabbis that came to South Africa originally.
But what about the Lithuanian community? I mean, a lot of the South Africans were Lithuanians.
For this, they were shmad for the 3 hours. They changed.
Okay, very interesting. So what's the source of the 3 hours? So already the Rabbeinu Yerucham, who was a Rishon, that's quoted many times in Shulchan Aruch, gives us a source. It's Isser Veheter Meyuchas Rav Yerucham, V'cheinog Mar Uplam et Neisha Bossor V'shum and Nidvak B'Pezman Aruch. V'kach Rabbeinu Baruch, V'Neisha Bossor Sheben HaShinayim Kori Bossor. The the meat would sit between the teeth. Shenemar Bossor odenu bein shneim. V'hu gimel shos karashi. We don't know exactly what Rashi is referring to. You see, the footnote doesn't know exactly which Rashi they're talking about, but he clearly says that the Bossor bein Hashineim goes away after 3 hours. A number of other achronim, some who are mentioned by Rav Menashe Klein in Mishnah Halachos, explain other bases for this custom of 3 hours. Bidvar minag Yehudi achenu bnei Ashkenaz, he says the yekem minig shenagu lahamtin gimel shos. Valzeh magiv shezeh minag ta'ut. The person who asked the Mishnah Halachos the question asked it in a way where he thought that it was a mistaken custom. If you remember, we learned that the Shulchan Aruch said 6 hours. The Ramah said 1 hour. So the questioner to the Mishnah Halachos was, this 3 hour business has no makor anywhere. So the Mishnah Halachos responds, Be'emes, ki minagam nami muvor b'divrei Rabbeinu achroni, v'ayin b'darchei tshuva, she'edi ba'ozvav, b'shem ba'er heitev shel ma'arit, u'pischei tshuva, u'v'sefer Mate Ephraim Asfaradi, u'v'sefer Mizmor LeDavid, laharav Moreno Rabbeinu David Pardo, she'edi mine kama makomos, she'en mamtin nachar Bossor ha'gimel shos b'kir v'afilu b'kayis. They said there were plenty of minhagim that were found that they only waited 3 hours, even in the summer. Meaning in the winter time, where you might have eaten your lunch at 1 o'clock and it got dark by 4:30, so you might have your evening meal 3 hours after your previous meal. So they want to suggest that the minhag of 3 hours is because in Northern Europe, particularly in the wintertime, there were between Sudas and Sudas maybe 3 hours. Al Koponim Nira, Kivan the Gemara Nosnu Shir Misuda L'Suda, Im Kain Tolib Bizman Suda, Bam Malcolm Shochlim. So it's not based on hours, it's based on the Suda and the location where the Suda is being eaten. The Kivan Shizman Sudas Tamei Chachamim B'Shah Sheish. The Talmidei Chachamim, the Gemara says 8 in the 6th hour. The Suda Shnia Be'erev, Uvizman HaChoref Shayom Kotzar, the day is short. Uvishah Shlishis Achar Tzorayim Kvar Magia Chashches Laila, Vimkein Ochel Sudas Lerech Gimel Shos Lachar Shachal Sudas Tzorayim, Ein also Lechol Lo B'Suda Achas Lo B'Suda Shnia B'Yom. L'chein Nogu B'Zeh Sholosh Shos. That's what the Mishnah Halachos says. Ulufiani is Daiti Pashut. Koshesh Boreach Torah Yamtin Sheishos. Vafilo Aboim in Kormu Shekilu La'atzmam. Im Achshav Yachmiru Lo Yeh Bechlal Al Titosh Torah Simecha. He says that if somebody wants to switch to 6 hours, it doesn't go against the pasuk which says you're supposed to keep the customs of your mother. Vein Zeh Chumra Yiseva. Ki Cheinir V'Rav Poskim V'Rav Makom Sheno Genu Posh. The sources quoted here by Rav Klein appears to explain that since the Gemara only refers to waiting between one meal and the next, the interval depends upon the locale. Although in many places the interval may have been 6 hours, in Europe, at least during the winter, was much less. And therefore one may eat dairy after 3 or 4 hours even during the rest of the year. Since this shows that the taste in one's mouth referred to by Rashi does not last longer than this. That means if you were allowed to eat in the winter time in Northern Europe after 3 hours, makes no difference in the summer. Because if the flavor in your mouth is gone by then it's gone. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach is quoted as holding that although there's a basis for those who wait 3 hours, it's actually preferable to change one's custom to wait 6 hours. Ve'achein das hagon Rav Shlomo Zalman, B'kitzur Shulchan Aruch, sheben Torah, hayodeh sheyoch lishmor atzmo, v'lo yovel l'dei michshol, after umiyotze Germania v'Tzorfat, even if it's from German or French descent. It's appropriate that he changed from 3 to 6. However, Shlomo Zalman agrees that for a married woman who grew up waiting 1 or 3 hours, she may continue her custom until her children grow up.
Ernie,
Yes.
Footnote 17 is interesting.
Another explanation for this custom could be that in England and Germany, the cultural custom of having a snack known as afternoon tea around 4 p.m. has existed for a number of centuries. Perhaps the Jews who lived there treated the snack as a halachic meal. If so, the standard interval between meals would be considered approximately 3 hours. Outstanding. High tea. And they used to eat those little sandwiches.
And scones, by the way, that's probably why in South Africa they took that minhag on, because everybody used to have tea in the middle of the afternoon. So they had the English custom. So it was from the English custom that they had, basically, the Yekkers.
But Ernie, was this custom in Germany also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Ravar Weiss also writes that one whose custom is to keep 3 hours may continue to follow it. It's preferable to change one's custom and wait 6 hours. But nashim lo tizbon l'sholos la'akim sh'oskos b'midbach u'b'vishulim achilos yalim u'krovos lo v'lei mirshol. He says that for women, it's actually better for them that if they had a minute to wait three, because they're feeding their children milk and this and that, they're not going to have any mikshol. Maybe they want to change the shita later on after the children grow up. V'tov shlo tidor m'shitidor v'lo tishal. Now, what is the reason for waiting between meat and dairy? We know that Chazal wished to safeguard the prohibition of Bossor b'cholav by ensuring that one does not come to eat meat and dairy together. But is there a more specific concern that they had when instituting this rule? The Rishonim dispute the reason as to why you wait. The famous machlokas between the Rambam and Rashi. The Rambam holds that when one eats meat, pieces get stuck between your teeth. And as long as 6 hours have not passed, these pieces still have the status of meat, and eating dairy would thus be prohibited. Says the Rambam in Hilchos Macholos Asuros, Mi shachal Bossor b'tchila, lo yochel achrav chalav, v'nei Bossor shel ben hashinayim, she'eino sar b'kinuach. Even though you rinse your mouth, it still may not be removed. The explanation is based on the Gemara in Chulin that states that meat in between the teeth still retains the halachic status of meat. Says Masechet Chulin, Armalei Ravacha by Yosef Rav Chizda, Bossor ben hashinayim ma'u, Kori alei Bossor odene ben shniim. Even though it's between their teeth, the Torah still refers it to as Bossor. So its status of Bossor has not gone away. Another explanation, which is different, is brought by Rashi, who explains that the fatty substances within the meat remain stuck to one's palate. Mishum de Bossor motziuman u'nidbak bepeh. Here's the important two words: umarich betamo. The taste, flavor remains. So it's not a matter of the physical be'en of the Bossor. It's a matter of the flavor that remains in your mouth. Now, what are the halachic nafkaminas that arise between these two reasons? By the way, this is a standard question that appears in almost every smicha test that I've seen. They know that there's a machlokas Rambam and Rashi on this issue, and they ask, what are the practical halachic nafkaminas between the two shitos? I'm sure that's why they included it here, because it's a classic question. So one who chews meat but does not swallow it, now who does that? Let's say you're a mother and you want to soften the meat so that your infant child can eat it. So they would chew the meat but spit it out. They wouldn't swallow it. Now we're going to see the svora of marich tamo only occurs when you swallow it. When you just put it in your mouth and spit it, there you could have Bossor ben shinayim, but you're not going to have the taste. So according to the Rambam, one must wait, since there may be meat stuck between the teeth. But according to Rashi, it would seem that you don't need to wait, since you didn't swallow, and the flavor doesn't linger in one's mouth. The other issue is what meat that remains after 6 hours. Let's say it's 7 hours, but you still have some meat between your teeth. According to the Rambam, it no longer has the status of meat, since he holds that the whole reason for waiting 6 hours is to do the meat in the teeth. But according to Rashi, it's still considered meat because it's producing flavor, because it's still there. Now, what eating the fat of meat or a meat soup without meat pieces? What if you just ate the fat and not the meat? According to the Rambam, you don't have to wait. Since you didn't consume any meat, there's no meat between your teeth. Well, according to Rashi, you have to wait because the lingering taste is there. Interesting. The Torah and the Shulchan Aruch say you have to be machmir like both of them. And that's the halacha. It says, within 6 hours, for example, let's say you check yourself after 2 hours and you don't find any meat between your teeth. That doesn't give you permission to eat meat, cheese, because you have the sheet of Rashi who says the flavor is going to be there for 6 hours. So, for example, if you didn't swallow it, you just chewed it for an infant.
Ernie,
Yes.
how about vice versa? You have a nice cheese pizza, you have that flavor in your mouth, then you rinse your mouth with some water, but you still have that pizza taste, and then you have a piece of meat. So,
Harold, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there tonight. Harold asked the question. We've been dealing with cheese after meat. Well, what about meat after cheese? Well, we're going to see that tonight as well. It's a good question, and we will deal with that. The Rambam's reason was because of meat between the teeth. According to Rambam, even if after 7 hours you had meat between your teeth, you could still you could eat cheese, because he said after 6 hours it's not called Bossor anymore. But if you chewed for an infant, you'd have to wait because the flavor is there. So you have to take both chumras, and therefore you have to wait no matter what, whether you chewed, whether you spit it out, whether you only ate the fat. We rely on both the sheet of Rashi and the sheet of Rambam in terms of the 6 hours. Now, would one need to wait in a case where neither reason is applicable? According to the Prima Godim cited by the Pischei Tzurba, if one chews a piece of meat that consists of fat alone, so you didn't swallow the fat, so there's no marich tam, and there's no meat pieces to get stuck into your teeth. Although neither reason is applicable, the Prima Godim says one should wait nevertheless, in order not to distinguish between different cases. It's a low plug. He says, Meikar Adin, you could do it. But because people are going to get confused, they answered it. If you chewed for an infant only fat, the moishech lecha, because you didn't swallow it, uvein shinayim lecha, because there's no meat. And the mikol makom, because of a prima godim, diyesh lahachmir lahamtin sheishos mishum lo plug v'lo lifrot sketer. Very interesting. Very
But
interesting.
Ernie, didn't we learn before that the fat gets stuck to the palate?
Say that again.
The fat gets stuck to the palate. Didn't we learn before?
But if you looked at the language, umarich b'tam. So if you learn over there in the Rishonim, clearly, it only works by Rashi if you swallow it. Technically, you'd think if it has to do with getting stuck to the palate, you just put it in your mouth and spit it out, it would also be stuck. But if you learn there in the Sugya, you see Rashi Shita is only noig if you swallow it. And then you have the time. By the way, we have a lot of our taste buds are in the back of the pharynx. I have the oral surgeon sitting next to me, and our taste buds just aren't on our tongue. It's in the back of our throat. So you need, Harold, right? You agree?
But I think
What was that?
I think when he swallows it, he's obviously talking about having some gastric reflux if he remains still tasted.
No, but Bernie, it could be that we're talking about these taste buds in the pharynx. It's because you don't have to have reflux, because it's this Rashi said it relates to everybody, that it's marich tam. People can have a flavor in their mouth even though they don't have reflux. Reflux, you just have heartburn, and maybe it's more noticeable. But I think even regular people without reflux can have that sensation. Now, If one tasted the meat without chewing it at all and then spit it out, the Sefer HaKashrus rules that you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait at all. For example, let's say you plan to have a dairy meal, but mistakenly began to eat meat shortly beforehand, and realized while the meat was in your mouth before chewing it, you spit it out. According to the Sefer HaKashrus, you could spit it out and you can eat the dairy meal. You didn't swallow it and you didn't chew it. Before chewing. If you chew it, it won't work, right? Alois Bossor Polto, Alois, if you chewed it, if you just put it in your mouth to taste it, Upolto, you spit it out, without chewing, you have to rinse your mouth out and wash your hands. Similarly, if one takes vitamins that have a meat ingredient, Rav Moshe Feinstein holds that one need not wait before eating dairy, as in this case, the consideration of low plug, not distinguishing between cases, does fine. In mutter lechol minei chalav, achar blias havitamin. This is an Igris Moshe Yoredeya. Uposhut shgam b'zeh mutter, shelek b'zeh atamim shehuskru b'taz, sifkot nalav v'shach, sifkot and beis. It doesn't have, neither these reasons are brought by the Taz and the Shach of the Rambam and Rashi. There's no time of low plug. The mistav the machmazen nogim sholechol gam achar tafshil shel Bossor aflo tafshil shel cholav after mashma shel nimshach tam tafshil. Tafshil is like a dish. It's not really a piece of meat or a piece of cheese. It's like some kind of dish that's got a meat flavor in it, or cheesy flavor. So there we said it's a low plug. We don't want to differentiate because people get confused. The vitamin is not a food. It's a swallow. There's no low plug. Now what if you chew the vitamin? Nami Lesser, he's also lenient. Kiven shala vitamin leka iser, become kiven shaba vitamin loya minak mishum shlaya zat ezashonim. The vitamin only exists in the last 20 years, says Rav Moshe. Look for shaykh le'esher mitzad minik. Okay. What about children? Page 46. Do children have to wait between meat and dairy? All of the sources have been focused on the halacha of waiting between meat and dairy for adults, although children are generally only bound by halacha for chinuch. At what age should children be required to wait between meat and dairy? So the earliest source to address this was the Meiri, who was lenient regarding chicken. The davka cotton she'en koach bo lishol sheishos, a child who can't wait 6 hours. Udosov tkufa zulzu, he eats meals every 2 hours. The ikulam and meyer, the istomaka. The stomach digests their food very quickly. Hein ben hashinaim, and also ben the teeth. Umakilim mizu lomar shlolitein shir sheishos elakol sheifsik besuda zu v'kovalecho pamacheres afilu toch sheishos. So the Meiri says if he can already eat a dairy meal by his next meal. The apple pishin at von nearim. Then they should stop and stop Komar, Shukashir Shechos, New Legodo. That's for an adult. She located at the Verkla Shiurim, because otherwise we're going to have problems adjusting Shiurim between people. Mikom Ba'of, Nia Yirali Lodun came, then they should make a Lisaki, Love Kirshe Bossor, all of Mishar Bossor. So he says clearly for children, you can rule this way for them to eat a dairy meal sooner. According to the Meiri, one can be lenient to allow a child to eat dairy after eating poultry, whenever the child begins the next meal. And that's according to Tosfos. Rav Vosner in the Shevet HaLevi says that children until 3 never need to wait between meat and dairy as long as their mouths have been cleaned from meat residue. He says you don't have to be stringent. with children less than 3. Rav Wosner is more uncertain regarding children older than 3. But he says you can be lenient. Which we quoted. Who held 6 hours according to the Rambam. So the Meiri is being very lenient. Because Rav Wosner say, really, we Ashkenazim, Meikar Adin only have to wait 1 hour. Our custom to wait 6 hours is a chumrah, which we've now accepted as custom. But for children, especially after chicken, you can rely on the Meiri and rely on the fact that Meikar Adin, according to Ramah, the basic din is 1 hour. Rav Yosef, Rav Ovadia is lenient even for older children due to a different halachic concept, sveika. So whenever you have a suffix d'Rabbanan, right? Suffix d'Rabbanan is lakula. But if you have a daraisa, so suffix daraisa is lachumra. Now, simply by a rabbinic law, if you have 2 sveikas, sveika is a reason to be matir legamre. So let's see what his sveika is. Miu biktanim yishmokum loimer she'ef shelahakel. Hinei adu amashenechliku aposkim be'isud rabbanon ishar lemesafi le'yadayim. So when the rabbanon declared something osir, like there's a different din that if you see a child eating it, do you have to stop him from eating it? Or can you feed, or there's a different din, in fact, can you feed it to him? So even though he says there's a machlokas rabbanon, the machlokas, aposkim, by Isser Drabonim, where you could feed children directly, Kamosha Kosev Morna Beis Yosef, Vizelashono, Ula Inyan Isrum Drabonon, Kosev Aran Biyuma, Shakol Shahul Tzorachatinek, Aful Pishigil Chinuch, Machilan also Isrum Drabonon, Philip Yadayim, V'chein Kosev Arashba. So 2 major Rishonim, the Rashba and the Ran, that our whole halach is built on, say that by Isur Drabonon you can be lenient, even to feed them, even children that are Magil Chinuch. The Rambam Kosav, the Lachilu B'Yadayim Osir. So the Rambam disagrees with the Ran and the Rashba. He says that if you see a child eating it, you don't have to stop him, but you cannot feed him directly. So the Ran and the Rashba said you can feed him directly. The Rambam says you cannot feed him directly. And therefore, you shouldn't have your children turn on the lights for you on Shabbos and Yom Tiv. Even if it's only rabbinic. Ad kan. But continues the Rav Ovadia, so this issue of whether you can feed biyadayim is machlokas rishonim. And there are many great sages who say that is, if you can wash your hands and clean out your mouth, because of a Ramah Ba'agosh, and then he quotes the Ramah that Nikra Din Minak Pashut in Europe was to wait 1 hour. So therefore, the Misra B'Yadayim Yisur Rabbanon Gam Ken Yesh Poskim Shemakilim Havalakain Sveik Sveika Vazlin and Lakuma. He says this is like a Sveik Sveika. You have so many machlokas leniently that you can rely on it. Now, Rav Nissim Karelis, who recently passed away, agrees that children doesn't have to wait the full amount of time as an adult. Since Ashkenazim in principle accept the opinion that requires waiting only 1 hour, it's only their machmir to wait longer as a custom. However, he suggests that children older than 9 wait at least the amount of time they generally wait in between meals. So not necessarily 6 hours, but if they eat every 4 hours, then that's the period of time they should wait. V'shir gilachinach la'chaka bin Bossor l'cholavun hu mimsei shakotten mimatai shakotten mevi v'yodeh sheis ishur lechol Bossor b'cholav yachda. When the child first understands that there's a prohibition to eat milk and meat together, that's when you have to start being mechanech. V'chachamim asur achalka b'nei. V'nir dekivan debeker adin mutter lechol gvina miyad achar bossor ayidei kinuch badocha b'nei. Since after kinuch badocha you can eat it right away, that means after an hour. But v'yesh omrim shetzarach lamtin sha'achas. Yafshir l'chayv v'sakodn shegil l'chilach atashon lamtin sheishos. There's no reason to make them wait 6 hours. Rakyesh l'chan choshiamtin sha'achas. The kivin shemuter l'olechol machlei cholav hu adin shemuter litin l'bos azman gam amtakim chalavim, dairy sweets. That's up until the age of 9. So you do it in a progressive fashion. He says, remember we said that Rav Bossor said up until the age of 3, you don't have to do anything. He doesn't make sure their mouth is clean of it. Then once they reach an age, I don't know what age that would be, 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old. That means when a child first understands that you can't eat milk and meat together. So then you would just have to wait 1 hour, the way Rav Nissim Karelitz is learning. Then once you're 9, you move it to Suda. So if they eat every 3 hours, every 4 hours, that's how much they have to wait. Dahainu, in Rogil Lamtin Sholish or Arba Shows, Ben Sulusur Shalom, as I start Lamtin Sholish or Arba Shows. In Rogil Lamtin Chomish Shows, as I have in Chomish Shows. Lakoponim, Miguel Korov Bar Mitzvah, Yeshol Lamtin Sheshos. Similar to when we first get our children to fast. Most people hold, they only start in the year prior to Bar Mitzvah, Bas Mitzvah. So the same thing, Lechora, works for the 6 hours. The Yalkut Yosef holds that you should not give dairy sweets to a child who has reached the age of chinuch, even if he does not understand why he doesn't eat them. He can eat a meal. You can feed him directly. It's hard for him to wait 6 hours. And again, he reminds us that even if you only wait 1 hour, you have upon who to rely. The that's if you're feeding the child a necessary nourishment. Ice cream and milk chocolate, that you shouldn't do. He says, even a child that doesn't understand it, before the age of 12. So Rav Elyashiv Noel, who was the rabbi of the Kfar Etzion community, he summarizes the different stages in the work Ve'achalta V'Savata. Yiladim she'ena b'nei mitzvah, ניתן להקל להם להמתין זמן קצר יותר לאחר אכילת בשר. בפרט העניין נראה לנו כדלהלן. ילדים קטנים עד לגיל 3, up until 3, ילדים קטנים מאוד שאינם בני חינוך כלל, ניתן להקל ורק להפריד בין אכילות ולהפסק הזמן. Just separate between the meals, but you don't have to wait any time. ילדים בני חינוך 4 עד 10, בגיל זה יש לחלק בין ארוחתו של הילד, just wait between the meals. So as is like Latin shachas per aruchot. Lumazot, the meduva bachilas mamtakim v'chadome, roy lachmir yoter lefi shikul datem shalahorim. The parents will figure it out, but he says also to avoid ice cream and chocolates. Yiladim b'kilachatas ragil mitzvot, yiladim b'dolim akrovim l'gil mitzvot, nachon latchil chadchan lamtikim nag beitam, according to their custom family, or pachot b'menu lefi shikul datem shalahorim.
You see, Ernie, but his thing of Yiladim B'nei Chinuch, 4 ad 10, that's a big spread. 4 to 10.
Well, I think 4. I'm not sure 4. I'm not sure 4. Remember, they all use different gedorim. The one getter that made sense to me was when they first understand the difference between eating milk and meat. I'm not sure a 4-year-old understands that yet. I would say a 6 or a 7-year-old probably does. So you see, there's no hard and fast rule about what's considered a gil chunich. It has to do with the child. And again, that's why they say the shikul das of the hoyrin, the parents know their child.
Right. But
Let's
according
do
to
one
most
more
other opinions, that we saw,
that?
it seems to be that 9 is age of chinuch, right? In general.
Well, no, we said 9, for example, by a male, that's his bia is considered halachic bia, age 9. I don't know. Chinuch is that you can see even what we learned today, there are different variations of what's considered age of chinuch. But I would say certainly 6, 7, 4, maybe in Israel, because they send them a cheder at the age of 2 or something, maybe they already know all the halachas. I don't think our children know that at that time. Let's learn the last 50 and 51. So we can say at least we finished part 1. I would highly encourage everyone to read page 55 during Pesach, which is lab made meat. If you remember Tzvika, I helped Tzvika give a shiur on this. We showed slides, this was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. They actually quoted Rav Tzvika's shiur, which I helped them on in Sefer Tchumin, which is on page 57, which is about lab meat and all the, it's very interesting, the halachic issues. Maybe when we finish, if we have some time, we'll actually learn it on the inside, because there's a lot of very good halachic principles there. Now, if one is uncertain whether the time measurement has passed, what should one do if one does not remember exactly what time he finished eating meat? Do you have to wait the maximum potential time or the minimum amount of time? According to the general principle of halacha, one might think that it's possible to be lenient, since waiting between meat and dairy is rabbinic and safek rabbanan lahakel. One may be lenient according to a safek. However, the Yad Yehuda writes that you must be machmir, since the rule is that one may not eat a forbidden food mixed with other food, such that it is nullified, even where that food or item will become permitted later on, known as davar sheyesh lo matirin. So, for example, Mirz Hashem, when we learn of taruvis, mixtures, we're going to learn about bittul barov, 2 against 1, or you need shishim. But there is a concept of bittul. But we're going to learn that there are some exceptions to bittul. Some things are not bottle. For example, a davar chashuv, a davar royli skabed, a piece of meat, a beautiful steak. If it's mixed with other meat, it's not nullified, even 1 in 1,000. And so that's royli skabed, a beria. If you have a whole creature, even though it's nullified more than 1,000, a beria is a davar chashuv. There's no bittul. So one of the other examples of no bittul is a davar sheyesh lo matirin. For example, let's say chametz bepesach, which after Pesach, the chametz is going to be permitted again and gets mixed with something. That's a classic example of davar sheyesh lo matirin. And there's other examples, like if you just wait a period of time and then it'll become permitted. For example, somebody cooks on Shabbos, b'shogeg, so you can't eat from it b'chdei sheyasu. But after 2 or 3 hours, b'chdei sheyasu can be eaten from. These are things that are davar sheyesh lo matirin. There can be matir to be eat. So normally we say such a thing, if it mixes with something, there's no bittul of that thing. Now, so mishum davar sheyesh lo matirin. Now, waiting between a time, let's say you can't eat this thing because you ate meat, but 6 hours later you can eat it. So they were considering that a davar sheyesh lo matirin. Right now I can't eat it, but I can eat it later on. So maybe it should be classified as a davar sheyesh lo matirin. Lefi zen yerdu adin nami b'sheish lo safek and yesh sheishov. Nami tzarich lahamtin ad shei vadai. Ve'ein matir mitam sfeik d'rabbanan. Even the davar sheyesh lo matirin. That's what the Yad Yehuda wants to say. But other poskim are more lenient. And this is the practical halacha accepted by most poskim, as well as the Yalkut Yosef. Hamasupik im avru sheishos me'az tomach ilosub sari. Nechleku adeos u'mershay lahakel v'lo kol chalavi. V'asomech lahakel k'shev shalavarer lo yifsi. He doesn't lose out. And this is based on the Noidib Yehuda, the Tzlach, who lived in Prague. He passed away like 1790, one of the major Achronim, also like the time of the Sam Sofer. So he had an approach as applied by the Darchei Tshuva, in the opinion of the Tzlach, the principle that one may not consume a davar sheyesh lo matirin that has been mixed up with other items in the case of uncertainty applies only to a specific object whose prohibition is dependent upon time, and you need to wait until that time has arrived in order to eat it. However, when one can use something at this moment as well as later on, such as the prohibition of muksa, where one could move the object now as well as later on, the stringency of davar sheyesh lo matirin doesn't apply. Because the hadlol by davar sheyesh lo matirin isra achila. That's only something like Truman Meisers that need something to happen to them later on. They're going to be corrected. It's achila. Or like we said, b'chtei sheyasu. But if it's some other isser, not related to achila, avalein isser tiltul lo shaykh davar sheyesh lo matirin. So he wants to say this concept of waiting 5 hours is a side issue. It's not. It's like a different halachic principle that's preventing it. Meaning, you want to use the principle of bittul to allow you to eat this now. Because if you have 60 times what you fell in there, you could eat it now. But a davar sheyesh, you're going to be able to eat it without bittul 6 hours from now. So that's why in general, they say davar sheyesh lo matirin regarding an achila is not bottle. In Cain, achila zu sheyochel hayom be'isur yochel lechol hamakom beheter. Wait till tomorrow to be completely mutter. You don't need to do mavat. You don't need to do bittul. Aval tiltul yachol tatul hayom gam l'machar. But tiltul shitatul hayom hu b'fnei atzmo. U'l'machar b'fnei atzmo. Shenani omer l'inyano. For example, if you benefit from something where there's no destruction, for example, when you smell something, you don't consume it, as opposed to food that you destroy when you're having a no. So when you smell a spice, you can benefit today, you can benefit tomorrow. So this is a very complicated machlokas that they got into, but based on this tzlach, the Darchei Tshuva argues that our case of a suffix as to whether the full time is passed or not, is it 6 hours, is it 5 hours, is it 4 hours, is like the case of a davar sheyesh lo matirin concerning muktzah. Since here too, one can eat one piece of cheese now, another piece of cheese later, after the time is certainly passed. On this basis, the Darchei Tshuva as well as the Sefer Kasher cited that one who is lenient has not lost anything regarding if you lost track of the 5 hours or 6 hours. Okay. Yeshakach, everybody. Tomorrow morning.